Hello, hello, hello. Ooh, starting early. What do they say? If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. Well, I guess we are on time today. I recognize that I'm recognizing my excitement today. Happy Sunday. It is July 7th. July 7th. It is July 7th. How is it that it's already July 7th? I'm grateful for it. I am Coach Yolanda, International Spiritual Life Coach, Reiki Master Teacher, Meditation Guide, Birth Doula, and a whole host of other things. But most importantly, I am so happy to be here and to be well and to be well. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for the sharing, the subscribing, the mentioning, the all of it. I'm grateful for you and your presence in this space. I hope you have your notebooks and your pens because we are going to work today. Thank you, thank you, thank you to so many of you who wish to be well because last Sunday was a mess right before and even during our time last Sunday. I started to feel unwell. And then it just was something that I couldn't avoid. It was more or less allergies, and I'm fearful that I am becoming allergic to one of my beloved animals, one of my grandpups. I hope that's not the case, but it might be. And if it is, it would break my heart. We're not getting rid of anybody. That's something we're not going to do, but we're going to have to figure out how to live together. Because even this morning, I started to feel it again. I'm like, what is going on? Now, secondary to the obvious of my throat being itchy, my nose running, my eyes watering, feeling um, like it is my allergies. I always go to the spiritual matter of why things are the way they are in my particular body. And there are several books. This is the one that I happen to utilize about what's going on in my body. Your body's telling you to love yourself. The most complete book on metaphysical causes of illnesses and diseases. So I'm always going to look for the metaphysical cause as to what's going on with my allergies. And this was very telling. I'm not going to read what it said, but there is some truth. There is a lot of truth to the correlation between the emotional, the mental reasons for experiencing allergies and what I am mentally and emotionally experiencing in my life right now. The author of said book is Lise Bourbeau. I believe that's French, Lise Bourbeau. But there are others. There are certainly other books that look at the correlation between the physical things that we are experiencing and their mental and emotional connection. So, again, thank you to those of you who reached out, who wished me well, who meditated, who prayed, who sent well wishes. It was very, very supportive and gave me motivation to really, really hone in and focus because that was a mess last week. I mean, my nose was running. I could feel myself about to not pass out, but just I wasn't well. So thank you. So this is going to be part two of what we were going to discuss last week, what we were going to go over last week before I had a whole complete physical meltdown. Terms and conditions. There are terms and conditions that all of us, whether we are consciously aware of it or not, all of us live under. Some terms of this human life, some conditions of this human life based upon the sacred or soul contract that we may acknowledge, because you don't have to acknowledge it if you don't want to. But if you are willing to acknowledge that there is a purpose, there is a plan, there is a reason why you are here, then it's worthy of investigating what that is, what that contract may be. Because just like all contracts, there are terms and conditions that, just like all contracts, we may not be reading or we may not be aware of, or we may not be consciously living underneath. If you sign up for a service right now, and yesterday I agreed, I had to sign an agreement for something. And when I tell you it was 3, 4, 5 pages of terms and conditions, did I read them all? No, because I honestly knew whatever I am required to do in order to participate in this service, I'm willing to do. So I agreed to it. Now, if later on in the process I am required to do something and I'm like, I don't want to do that, then I better go back and read the terms and conditions and say, but you said that you would. Because more often than not, we sign up for things and then when we recognize, oh, there's conditions, there's terms, then we go back and we're like, but I don't want to do that. Now you have changed the terms and conditions of the thing that you agreed that you would do. So every single one of us who is present in this realm, and if you're watching me, I believe that you are present in this realm. There are some terms and conditions that you are living under right now. Remember, we were in the pandemic. There were terms and conditions that all of us were supposed to live under. Some of us did well, some of us did not. They told everybody, do this thing, put this thing on, stay at home. Some of us listened, some of us didn't. And those of us who didn't listen to the terms and conditions had a different experience than those of us who may have listened. So when you think about your contract, your spiritual contract, your sacred contract, and there is actually a book. And again, this is not the only book, but there are others. Look, I still got the price tag on there. I did not buy. Did I buy this for that price? At Costco. Yes, I did. Bought it at Costco by Caroline Mace, Sacred Contracts, Awakening Your Divine Potential. And this goes in depth into how do I figure out what my contract is? How do I get to the terms and conditions? How do I know what my purpose, what my passion is? And this is in alignment with what we've been talking about, Power 24. How do I know how I am my most powerful self? How do I know where my power is going? How do I know that the experiences that I've had in my life are directly correlated to the contract that my soul, my spirit signed to be pulled into existence? And you could have been pulled into existence at any time in history, but here we are. Why me? Why now? Why these terms and conditions? Why is it essential for me to get an idea of what is required of me? Well, if you are living this life, and I hope that you are living this life as fully as you intend to live it, I hope that when you come to the end of your life, there are no regrets, that you can be like, I did what I wanted to do. I saw what I needed to see, and my body is ready for full rest. I hope that that is the way in which you go through this human experience that we are all going through. Would it be smart and responsible to say, well, what am I here for? What is it that I choose to do? What is it that I would like to do? What is it that I desire to do? And maybe you don't have the answer. Maybe you don't know. Maybe there are so many things on your list that you're like, how could one person possibly experience all of these things in one lifetime? If you are familiar with the movie Bucket List with Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson, where there were two gentlemen who were facing terminal illnesses, living with terminal illnesses, and they decided that they were going to create a bucket list. Now, one of them had a whole lot of resources. He was wealthy. And so it was a lot easier for them to, come up with a list of things that they wanted to do before their demise. And wouldn't it be of great benefit to those of us who are not facing a terminal illness, but who know, we all know that we will at some point transition from this life? Wouldn't it be a grand thing to do to say, you know what, these are the things that I would like to experience. If I'm going to be here, whether I desire to be here or not, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to live my life in such a way that is reflective of the desires and the choices of what I'm here to do in the first place. And as we've been talking about our power, and many of us feeling as though, oh, I feel powerless to do the things that I would like to do, or I don't have the resources, or I'm not there yet, or I don't even know what it is. Again, there's so many things that I'd like to do. I don't know what to focus on. Whatever the lack of clarity, or what most people will say, I feel stuck. If that is something that you are experiencing, then perhaps you feeling stuck is a message, is a warning to say, okay, you are in a place where you don't know whether you want to go left, right, or center. Start to investigate where you are your most powerful. What things have you focused on most in your life? Where have you felt the strongest? Where have you felt most like yourself? In the beginning of this year, now that we're in the 7th month, the beginning of this year, we took a look, and I hope that you continue to take a look at where your power is going physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Oh, I spend a lot of time thinking about this. I spend a lot of time feeling this way. I spend a lot of time in this place, in this space with these particular people. Once you start to look at where your power, where your energy is going, and then you start to look at, is this close to the thing that I desire? And if the answer for you is no, not really, then that is a great place to be, because now you get to go on this self-discovery of where you would like to go, what you would like to do, what is a desire of your heart, and how do I pour into those places and spaces so that they are magnified, so that they are amplified, so that I feel I am living life on my terms and in a way that I choose, instead of life living me. I'm living life. Life isn't telling me you got to get up, go to this 9 to 5, come home, rinse, wash, rinse, repeat. You are absolutely feeling like physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, I'm living the life that I desire. I don't feel stuck. I don't feel unclear. I'm not disappointed. I'm not all of those things that make life unbearable. That's not my experience. And so, if you desire, today we're going to look at the terms and conditions, which essentially boils down to the why. Why am I feeling the things that I'm feeling, thinking the things that I'm thinking, and behaving in the way that I'm behaving? Who am I, and why am I? That's essentially what we're going to be looking at. We meditated on it last week. I hope you got your notebooks. We're going to get into the thick of it today. I'm going to show you how I think about what it is that I'd like to do and go about doing it. And so for many people, it may be goal setting. And last week we talked about how most of us are familiar with the acronym SMART when we're talking about goals. What we in this particular experience are going to be focusing on is not necessarily goals, but vision. What is the vision? And how is it connected to every single life experience you have had? Because what I know to be true is that if you are unclear about the direction of your life, if you're unclear about what your soul purpose is, if you are unclear about the terms and the conditions that your soul already agreed to, you came into existence and your soul, your spirit agreed to particular things. Whether you were consciously aware of it or not, you're like, I agreed to be this person. I agreed to be the person in my family who, hey, my love. All right. Notebook, pen, ready. That's what I'm talking about. You're so gorgeous. Thank you. You may not be aware. It's like, I agreed to be the person in my family that is going to clean up generational stuff. Me, I didn't sign up for that. You most certainly did. Or I'm going to be the one in my family that's going to accomplish particular things that will heal a particular thing in me. That's my role. That's my terms and conditions. I didn't sign up for that. You may not have been consciously aware of it, but perhaps you are. Or maybe the terms and conditions of your sacred contract are, I am here to give birth to thoughts, to ideas, to particular things that may not have been present in the way that I create them. Or I am the one that is going to gather individuals on a Sunday so we could talk about our dreams, our hope. We may not always be clear about what the contract, the terms, and the conditions are. But baby, your soul said yes, pulled you into existence through the experience of being born at this particular time. And it doesn't mean that there's just one thing that you signed up to be. And again, we can have 20 million goals written in our journal. But if we are not clear about the why and how it is sustainable and how it is connected, how are you keeping that thing living, breathing? I have been, as of late, watching individuals who perhaps a couple of years ago, when things were so uncertain, may have created some things. And now those things are ending. Businesses are closing. People are leaving, excuse me, particular jobs. Things are shifting, transitioning. What was, and what is now is becoming something different. Where we were 4 years ago certainly is not where we are now. And we're starting to discover, okay, maybe that wasn't the thing. Maybe it was the thing for that particular time. And so many of us might be in that transitionary phase. We're like, I don't know what it's going to look like. I kind of have an idea, but so this is for us, for those of us, because I'm in that space where I was coaching, then I wasn't. And now I'm like, okay, what does it look like now? Because I'm not the same person. I don't want to have the same experiences that I had when I was doing it before. I've learned some things, I've grown, and I would like for it to be different. But what does that look like? Okay. If you are in that place and space, the very first thing that I believe that we should get clear about is who am I and how is this thing that I want to do aligned with who I know myself to be, who I know God created me to be. Because if you are unclear about your why, and how it lives in your body and is connected to every experience that you've had, it's going to be difficult to sustain. All right. Listen, Celeste, the cleanup woman. There is another book. It's all the way over there. I don't want to get up and get it. Um, I'm going to bring it next week. That gives the definition of the clean up woman. I can't even think of my beautiful authoress of that book, but it's called Woman's Work, and it gives different archetypes that women may become in their lifetime, and one of them is the cleanup woman, and I also connect with that. I often tell myself, or I've had to get to the realization that I'm a bridge between what was and what will be. And so oftentimes I feel like I do work that benefits others and not necessarily me. And I'm like, but you got to learn how to not just be okay with that, but recognize the beauty in that. If you want to get from one city to another city, but there's water in the way, a bridge is going to get you there. You may not even acknowledge the bridge. Some of us are afraid of the bridge. It's like, I got to get on that big old bridge to get over there. Yes, but that bridge is connecting you to something that you want to get to. And so I've had to recognize that in many of the experiences that I have in my life, I am a bridge. I'm not going to get acknowledged. I may not even be something that somebody wants to go through, but you got to go through me to get to the other side. And I have had to get to the point where I'm no longer disappointed at not being the priority for some people, but the thing that they may utilize to get to where they're going. And sometimes we go over bridges and we never have to go over that bridge again. And sometimes people burn bridges because they don't want to go back. And that's okay with me too. I've learned to live in that space that I'm a bridge. You might burn me. You may never cross me again. You might cross me a couple of times, recognizing I got to go back to where I was so that I can go to where I'm okay with that, because I recognize the significance and the importance of bridges in our lives. Hello, Maya. Oh, you are on my list of people that I need to speak to. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen in a little bit, but I also want to reiterate if you are unclear as to what your why is and how it lives in your body, it may be difficult to sustain the thing that you love to do. There are many of us who are in jobs, and we recognize now that when I got into this industry, into this career, I thought this is what I wanted to do. I now recognize this is a job. This is something that I do. I don't necessarily love it, but it pays the bills. It allows me the creative expression. It has a function, but it's not really what I thought. How many of us went off to college thinking I'm going to get this degree to become this thing and that is going to be my life's work, only to recognize and realize I don't like this at all. Only to realize that the dream that you had then, the motivation may have been unhealed trauma. There are some of us, and I'm counting myself in that number, who have been motivated, who are motivated by unhealed trauma. And I'm here to tell you that's not sustainable. Because if you are doing something because you're trying to prove to someone else or you're trying to satisfy someone else, many of us start to do things because we see something we like. We think if I replicate that, then I will become the thing that I like, only to recognize that your motivation for doing so is based upon unhealed trauma. For instance, if you're doing something because you want someone to accept you, maybe it's your mother, maybe it's your father, maybe it's your whole entire family, and your whole motivation for doing a particular thing has been to satisfy other people so that they can then be like, oh, you're great, because maybe they never said it when you needed them to say it. Or maybe the motivation is somebody broke your heart, so I'm going to prove to you that you didn't damage me in the way that you think you did. If that's your motivation and inspiration, and then that person, those people, your family, your mother, your father, whoever the motivation may be connected to, continue to ignore you, then what are you going to do? How many individuals are motivated by their unhealed trauma? I'm doing this thing, and I recognize that when I started my nonprofit. I'm doing this thing because I want to heal something. And I want to make the distinction that sometimes things are created because of unhealed trauma. Hopefully, there's some healing that takes place, and then the thing that was created continues to flourish. But sometimes, if the sole motivation is based upon an unhealed thing, meaning I'm doing this to show you something instead of I'm doing this to heal myself, if the motivation is connected to somebody else changing, noticing you, or being different, like maybe there's an experience where it's like, if I get this degree, then maybe my mother will appreciate me more, or love me more, or recognize me. And then you go get that degree, and then your mother's like, well, okay. That feeling of you not being satisfied may push you into something else. It was like, well, let me do something else so she can notice me. And let me do. How often and how long are you going to continue to be in that cycle of let me do this or let me be motivated by this so that other people can see me differently? Your why has to live in your body. It's in your body. And it has to live in your heart, in your bones. It's got to be that thing that, even though it can depress you at times, because if it's connected to entrepreneurship, prepare to be depressed. But it's who I am, it's what I love, it's what keeps me afloat, and I don't know who I would be without it. But if it's connected to unhealed trauma that you are not interested or aware of healing, It may be a cycle of I'm starting something, I'm doing something, and now this thing is no longer satisfying because it's not really connected to my heart in the way that I thought that it was. So I want to make clear that as we are building on what our power is, what we would love to do, that we recognize and acknowledge I might be doing this thing because I never had the experience of being a priority in someone's life, and I would like to experience that. Okay. Well, how do you experience that from the lens of you are already a priority in someone's life? Your life. You are your priority. And if other people are connected to that, great. But if they're not, how are you going to still feel good about yourself, still feel of value? And so let me share my screen. So get your notebooks ready because we talked about the SMART goals last week, and that's all well and fine. Maybe your goal is want to open a chain of, I don't know, a chain of restaurants. Maybe that's your thing. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me get myself together. Maybe your thing is, I want to open up a Starbucks, and I'm just using that because I can't think of anything else right now. Okay. Why do you want to do that? Well, I like the coffee and I want to make money. Okay, that's great. That's fine. And you absolutely could sit down and write out an action plan, things that you need to do. Go get a business license. Go, first of all, if you want it to actually be a Starbucks, you have to go through their franchisee university or whatever they call it. There are particular concrete things that you can do to make that happen. This is not that. What is connected to the Starbucks that's going to make you get up at 2 in the morning if you need to because something's not right? Because if the motivation is solely money, if the motivation is solely because I like the coffee, what happens when you no longer like the coffee or you've got all of the money in the world? Now what? Do you close the Starbucks and move on to something else? You could. And people do that. But I don't think that you would be in this place and in this space if your goal was solely about money or solely about being connected to something successful. It is my belief that if you are in this space, it's connected to your spirit, it's connected to your soul. And it's often why it feels heartbreaking. Because if I said to myself, I want to open up a Starbucks, there's already a package for me to do that. There's already a blueprint for me to do that. But if you are trying to create something that is closely aligned to your spirit, who's going to tell you how to do that when it's your spirit, your vision, and the thing that you love? I think I talked about, when I started my massage business, I had in my mind that I'm going to do what the franchise around the corner does. And as long as I do what they do, I'll be successful like them. Well, here's the thing. That franchise may have to do something that's not aligned with my values. That's not aligned with the way that I desire to live my life. So what am I going to do when the franchise says you have to knock out your competition and, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not who I am. Now what do I do? That blueprint is not going to work for me. And so when it comes to this kind of work, we can look at SMART goals. And so let me shrink this so y'all can see. Now, this is something that I use with my clients. This is something that is not unfamiliar to most of us because, again, you can see the SMART goals. But what I like to do with my clients, of course, we start with the desire. What's the motivation? What's the pursuit or what's the action? What's the challenge? Because Lord knows there's always going to be a challenge. And then what's the decision? Once you get to where you know that you want to be, how is it going to be successful? Okay. These are all great and good. So let's focus on right here. What do I want? Most of us are not able to articulate that in a way that is connected to our soul, our spirit. And sacred contract and the archetypes of who you are will be helpful. And we're going to jump into those as well. So if you know what it is that you want, write it down. It could be I want to open a Starbucks, I want to start a gym, I want to become a coach. Great. And you also could start to write down the follow the SMART acronym. Get specific. What's the timetable? Because is it measurable? Or maybe it's I'm already a coach and I want to sign up 10 people in the next 30 days. So, what's the action for that? Is it realistic? You might be able to do that. And many of us have. We all got the notebooks that are filled with all of the things that we would love to do in our lifetime. What's the desire? What's the need? What's the why? If you are at a place where you can put that on a piece of paper and it looks good, but you still feel stuck, you being stuck may mean, but I don't know how this is connected to my heart. I don't know how this is connected to the life experiences that I've gone through. I don't know how this is connected to my sacred contract, my terms and conditions, the things that I need to be in order for this thing to continue to live. Or as we said last week during meditation, God, who would you have me be so that this thing can come through me and happen? How am I going to allow you, God, to set me up in such a way that I believe that this thing can happen for me? As we've been talking about the big ask, there's no reason why that big ask is living in your spirit if you are unable to connect to why does this thing need to live for me? So right now, this is all we're focusing on. So guess what I did? I did this for myself. So this is my goal. Now notice my goal does not fit the SMART acronym. It's not measurable. There's no action. There's no timetable. This is connected to how I want to feel. I want to expand my work to contribute to the growth of the collective consciousness. Now, if I were to go to a business coach and say that, they would be like, what are you talking about? I haven't talked about how it's supposed to happen. I haven't talked about what it's supposed, none of that is the focus for me right now because I need to be very, very clear. Why is that so important to you? So you will see that why. So for you, your notebook, and it doesn't have to sound like mine sounds, all sprinkled with spiritual dust. This is something that I've written over and over again. It probably started with, I want to expand my work. What work? I don't know. I'm not there yet. I don't know what this is what I know I want to do. And so if you can write a goal or write part of your vision in a way that you feel like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to expand my work. Your goal might even look similar to mine. You want to be a contributor to the expansion of healing. You want to heal. Maybe that's a goal. I want to heal. I'm all right with that. Start to ask yourself why. So that's what I did. Why? Because I want to give back what I've received and replicate the experience of healing to those who desire to heal. Again, that can sound very, very what? What does that mean? What does that mean for me? Is why is that important to me? Because I know what it feels like to heal. I know what it feels like to be proud of myself and the version of myself that I am now versus where I was. And I want other people to experience that. Well, why would you want to do that? Because I also want to continue to heal. I want to be in the places and spaces where people are talking about healing because I recognize the value it has in my life and the life of others. Why? Because I also am still healing. And so it's important for me that whatever I do, whatever work I contribute to in this lifetime, that I continue to heal. It would be lovely if I knew what that looked like. I don't, but I know it when I feel it. I know it when it's happening. Even in those moments when it feels like my stomach is being turned inside out, I am consciously aware that sometimes that is what healing feels like. Okay, so you desire to continue healing. Why, Yolanda? Because seeing and experiencing life transformation is amazing personally and professionally. Oh my goodness. Those aha moments that other people have when I'm coaching, I could live on that for days, for weeks. I know what that feels like. Why? Because I was a child who had experiences of seeing people who were not well, but then well. And to me, it was like magic. My mother was, now she would have been called a CNA. Back then, it was a home health aide. And sometimes she would take me with her. And I would see the progress that she would make with people who were unable to walk. And then she would go and I'd be sitting in the corner playing or whatever. But then I would see them and how she spoke to them and how she cared for them. I have seen love heal people. And I know what that feels like when you allow it to happen. And I also recognize personally what it looks like when you don't want love anywhere near you, when you are shut down emotionally. I know what that feels like. And so seeing and experiencing that is like magic to me. And that's what I want to do. I want to be in those types of experiences. Why? Because it allows me to walk through this experience called life with wisdom and confidence. And notice that I put that in red because to me, that was like, oh, now we're getting to the juice of it, the root of it. You want to experience wisdom and confidence. Why? Why is that so important to you? Well, it's connected to me not always feeling wise or confident. That's the healing point. And for me, that's why I put it in red. And so it may take you more than 3 bullets, more than 3 questions of why to get to this point. So now I know what my real motivation is. Because at times I tell myself I'm not wise and I'm not confident. At times I tell myself that when I am presented with choices, wisdom and confidence ain't nowhere in the equation. So at times I avoid the wise and confident choice. I can see it. I can tell myself, you know what would be the smart thing to do, and then do the complete opposite. That's the unhealed version of me that's showing up. That's where my power is being sucked in those places and spaces where I am not walking wisely, where I am not being confident. And I also recognize that I do a very good job at providing that to other people, and I don't always do such a great job at providing it to myself. So now we are getting to the gist of why I'm motivated. And if I can become consciously aware of where I'm unhealed, then I won't be chasing that like a hamster on a wheel. I'm going to acknowledge it. Yeah, one of my motivating factors for doing this is because I know what it feels like to feel like you're not smart. You know how many times people have second guessed me and then I second and third guess myself? How many times that I've had experiences when I was a child that I could see things, point them out to people, and they'd be like, well, you're just a kid. You don't know what you're talking about. And in this space, I talked about the experience where I saw someone being harmed, intervened, and I got punished for it. And so being smart and being confident and being assured of myself, at times I've had the life experience where that was taken away. So I know that's a motivation for me. I know that's part of my why. And if we don't get to the unhealed part, it's going to be running the show and not running the show in a way that we would like. So if I didn't know that part of the reason why I do what I do is because there are unhealed parts of me and I'm just out here doing things and doing things, if I don't heal those parts of me, I'm going to keep chasing and chasing and chasing, as they say, that high. I'm going to continuously put myself in places and spaces based upon that unhealed trauma. But if I can recognize it and also be okay with it, and also say, but we're healing that part of you. That little girl who never thought that she was smart enough because other people told her she wasn't smart enough. That little girl who would hide herself, and other people would say, oh, she's just shy. No, it wasn't that I was shy. I didn't feel confident because that wasn't always supported in particular places and spaces. Or when it was done in such a way to punish other people. I don't know if any of you have had that experience. I've always, when I was younger, I was very athletic. I was very fast, very limber. So I was always the example in class. Y'all got to run like Yolanda. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to children. Because what happens, and then all of the other kids start to resent you because now you done set the bar up here, and the adult is using you as the example, and now everybody else don't want to be your friend. They don't like you because you're making it difficult for them to see themselves. So if you've had that experience where your gift has been highlighted to make other people feel bad, you might start to shrink and hide that gift. I know I'm not alone in that. If you were the example, so and so got all A's on her test, how come y'all did, when you are put up as the example and then people resent you for the very gift that you didn't ask for the gift, you just have the gift. And then people start to resent you, or you start to shrink yourself because I didn't ask to be the poster child for this particular thing, and so now everyone is feeling a particular way about me. I can't, there's nothing that I can do with that. But if you don't understand what that does to you and how it contributes to you shrinking and being afraid to be the best version, highest version of yourself, then that thing going unhealed is going to run the show. And that's where we tell ourselves, I don't know what I want to do, or I'm unclear, or I'm not the one, or this can't happen for me. So if we go back up and start, and so what I want you to write down is, what is it that's a goal for you? What does it look like, feel like? Now, I don't care about the SMART acronym right now. I don't care about it being specific. We don't care about it being measurable. Just write something. What is your big ask and why? Keep asking yourself why. And so if anyone wants to share, we'll get to that when I'm sharing. And so this is what I now know is a motivating factor for me. This is the motivation. Wisdom and confidence allow me to expand my work to contribute to the growth of the collective consciousness. If I'm not continuously tapping into the wisdom that lives within me and lives within others, and if I'm not confident in what it is that I do, then I won't be able to expand my work. So you see how when you get down to the root of what it is, how it absolutely aligns with the goal. Now, again, if I was working with a business coach, I wouldn't necessarily say these things because they would probably look like, well, what the heck does that even mean? We're not there yet. That is becoming, that is unfolding. And we will start to take this and build upon this. And you can see that I started to do that. That's next week. Is that next week? Yeah, that's next week. Barriers. We've already scheduled it. And so if anyone wants to share what they've written or how this is living for you, or maybe you're just taking time because this is, something maybe you've already done this, but you still feel like, well, I'm stuck. Are you connected to how you are going to feel? Do you know how it lives in your body in such a way that everything that you choose to do is aligned with it? That you move that way. It's not once I become the CEO of, my franchise of Starbucks, then I will. It's no, I am the CEO of those franchise of Starbucks now. So what do my choices look like? So for me, this weekend that I've been working, it's wisdom and confidence, wisdom and confidence. You are as wise as you need to be in order for you to do the thing that you say that you want to do. And you are still becoming wiser and wiser. And the confidence that lives within you is so juiced up right now. You're not taking no for an answer. So that when I'm choosing, even down to, should I eat this particular thing? How is it aligning with me remaining wise and confident? I'm wise enough to know that if I continue to eat the Kit Kats that are now in my freezer, it is not going to be the best thing for me physically. And it may seem like, oh my God, that's a whole lot of work. Not when it is in the forefront of my mind that I'm a wise and confident woman. And so now that becomes my prayer. That becomes my affirmation. That becomes the thing that lives within me that allowed me to also challenge myself this weekend with writing what some could say are action steps. Now, did I use the SMART acronym? No, I didn't write down SMART. And I know many of us have seen the forms that have, the S, the M, the A, the R, the T, and then you fill it out. The goal is at the top. I didn't need to do all of that. If you need to do all of that, that's fine. I didn't need to do all of that because I'm continuously telling myself, what would a wise and confident woman do? You are that wise and confident woman. Now, I know that there's a little voice somewhere, and I will admit to having a breakdown yesterday where I was like, you can't do this. This is too big. You are insane. And I mean, it came from nowhere. In the midst of me working, I'm hearing, close that laptop. You can't, what you are planning to do is beyond you. And I started crying. And I was like, just go lay down, go to bed, because you can't do this. You tried it before. And what I realized is there's still some pain from my past experience as a spiritual life coach. There was one experience in particular that I know that I did not use my wisdom, and I should have refused to coach this particular individual because there were other things going on that I could see and that I could hear. But because my motivation at that point was, well, you said you wanted X amount of clients and this is that number. So you need to coach this person. I should have never entered into that agreement. But because my motivation was off and unclear, I did it anyway. And it wound up being the relationship that told me I don't want to coach anymore. So you see what happens when we're not clear about our why, and the motivation becomes something else. And so for some people it's money, for some people it's numbers, like I was telling myself, if I have X amount of clients, then that means I'm doing the most. I'm up there with the highest of caliber of coaches. Look how you got how many clients? Because for many coaches, having X amount of clients, you've already done the numbers. If I have X amount of clients and I'm charging X amount per client, I can be clear about what my bottom line is. Oh my God, you're making that much from coaching? So the motivation was not aligned with who I know myself to be and why I became a coach in the first place. And the minute that starts to waver, then you start making choices that don't align with the reason you started in the first place. And you don't even recognize yourself. And so I'm coaching this person, and the whole time that little voice in the back is like, you need to release this. You need to But then that other voice is like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. The other voice is like, but you said you wanted X amount of clients and you have that. Just it'll work out. Just keep going. It'll work out. It'll work out. Lying to myself. It'll work out. It'll work out. I'm telling, just stay there. It wasn't aligned with what my soul knew to be true. And it's the reason why I stopped coaching, because that relationship just self-destructed. because neither one of us were in it for the reasons that we said we were in it. I wasn't in it um, and aligned with who I said I needed to be. And the client also really didn't want to be coached. That client was looking for something else, and I knew it. And instead of saying, I'm not the coach for you, I said, okay, we're gonna make it work. How many times have we done that in relationships where we're like, we see it, we know it. It's like, well, let's see what happens. When something is not aligned with the you that you know yourself to be, the terms and conditions that pulled you into this existence, I'm telling you, it's not a fun place to be. Looking back, I'm grateful for the experience because it showed me what I needed to see, so that I now say to each and every single one of you, be very clear at what your motivation is. And sometimes our motivation is tied to a traumatic experience. And sometimes that traumatic experience is the greatest source of our healing. But if it isn't, and you are not consciously aware of it, it can become the thing that literally leads you around like an animal on a leash who is just going to go wherever that thing says you need to go. So many organizations have been started because someone experienced trauma in their life and they did not want to see anyone else experience a similar trauma. But what I also know is that those individuals will tell you, if you don't do your own healing around the initial trauma, you may also be taking people through a traumatic experience. So we are all familiar with goal setting. How many of us are familiar with soul setting? So there's goal setting and there's also soul setting. What is your soul asking you to do? What have you been placed into existence for? And it can seem like a mighty, mighty, mighty task to uncover, but I'm telling you, it's not. It's really not. When you're doing the personal development work, when you're asking yourself those, self-aware, self-actualizing questions, when you're connected to healing, essentially, you're connected to the expansion of your emotional intelligence, not just your intellectual intelligence, because there are a lot of smart people who may be immature emotionally and spiritually. I want to be mature in all areas of my life, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, so that I am asking the question, why do you want to do this? What is the motivation? Because if you're unclear about what your motivation is, the energy that pushes you forward, can you imagine if some dark, toxic energy is what is pushing you? And it's happened. It has happened. And you may even get to a place where you are upset because the work is not fulfilling. And that's where I got to in my coaching business. I was like, this is no longer fulfilling. Like, how dare you, Yolanda, say you want to be a coach because you want to support and facilitate other people's healing. And now you mad because it's not fulfilling and healing to you. Because that's the way that it started to become. It started to become about numbers. It started to become, not to say that those are not important, and we're going to get there too. It is very important that the thing that you choose to do doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. It could very well be in your career. It is very important that you recognize what it's connected to, what the motivating factor is, what the inspiration is, what is going to be the thing that you're like, yes, this is what I have wanted to experience all along. I am now experiencing it, and so I feel successful. And so, because one of my motivating factors is wisdom and confidence, When I see it in other people, that's what I'm saying. I could live off that. When I see other people stand and say, whew, I know who I am and I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. It I can't even really articulate what it does for me to see other people, which is why I love this space. Because when I ask or make a request and then it's fulfilled, I'm like, you have to know who you are. You have to be in the energy of wisdom and confidence to say, I am. Listen, Maya, Maya speaks rights. One of the first things Maya said to me was, I'm a writer. And she's letting you know. Metabolic maven. She's letting you know what her name, what it is that she does, and who she is. Celeste codes. I'm gonna gather that Celeste, you do some coding work. I'm not sure if I'm not correct in that. Please let me know. When people tell you who they are in subtle ways and in not so subtle ways, and then you tell yourself, "Well, I done told people that this is who I am. I'm Coach Yolanda. I done told people I'm a coach, and you better be a coach." What's funny to me, it may not be funny to anybody else, but because on my Google profile, my first name is Coach, when I order things and people deliver them to me, they're like, this is for Coach. And there are times where I'm like, Coach, who are you talking about? Like I forget. Oh, no, no, no. It's who I am. I'm a coach in all areas of my life, not just in the places where I'm paid to be a coach. This is who I am. I instill confidence in people, just like a basketball coach, just like any coach. I was watching on Netflix Sprint. It's about the fastest man, the fastest whip. Oh my goodness. I was a track and field, not necessarily field, but a track athlete in my younger days. So anything track and field, I'm there. And so I watched that yesterday. And the level of confidence that you have to embody to be at that level makes the difference. And you can see the subtle differences in the individuals because they follow the story of Sha'Carri Richardson and Shelley Fraser Price, the fastest women and men, Noah Lyles, like they're profiling them and how they got to where they are and how they sustain that. And if you're unfamiliar with Noah Lyles, he's confidence on 100. But when you hear his story of where he was, it makes sense. This is why he is where he is, and this is what he needs to do to maintain that level. And it makes people uncomfortable because he's confident on 100. And you can see how it makes other people uncomfortable. And it's in that uncomfortable energy that you see the outcome. You see the outcome and how it's different. But that child was, and I say child because to me, he's a child, was raised in that energy. And some people can say, oh, it's arrogant. Like there really is a thin line between arrogance and confidence. But to me, the line is how you see yourself and how you see other people. And in that documentary, he said, if you don't know that you are the best, then you shouldn't be here. Now, it may be expressed in different ways. Like confidence doesn't have to be loud. Confidence doesn't have to be arrogant. Confidence doesn't have to be overbearing. But it has to be. It has to be there. It has to be present. And so if we are carrying around this contract in our spirit, in our soul, that has all of these terms and conditions that we didn't read, that we are unfamiliar with, we're carrying all of that around and playing small and not connected to it and not allowing it to live and breathe. Because here's the thing, if you signed up for something and then you don't live your life according to that agreement, now I know what happens in, the literal, logical, literal sense. I know what happens when you don't honor your contract, when you don't honor agreement, right? Somebody could sue you, take you to court. Now, I don't believe that the universe is going to be like, all right, we signed this agreement with you, Yolanda, and you're not living up to that agreement. So we're going to take you to the universal court, spiritual court, because you reneged on the contract. Your spirit came here for this particular reason. And I believe and trust that one of the reasons that I am here is to share wisdom and to share my confidence with other people. But if I keep telling myself I'm not confident, if I keep telling myself I'm not wise, now I'm going against the terms and conditions of the sacred contract that my soul agreed to. Even saying that makes my skin itch. Imagine that the creator of all things in existence said, Maya, Celeste, Audrey, you are the one to do this thing unlike anyone else. Imagine. And then you say, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the one. I don't know if I can do it. And the creator is like, but I already said that you were the one. You're here. The contract has already been written. And I trust. That is the thing that amazes me. That God trusts God trusts that I have the ability to do what has been asked of me. Okay, God. Okay, universe. I may not see it all of the time. I might not live from that place. But if you believe it, who am I to say it's not true? Who am I to say, nah, you got the wrong someone? Can we rewrite the contract? Can we can we go back and rewrite the contract? I want to read something. Um, it's not what I have tabbed in this book, but it's what I have highlighted. And because I come back to this um, page often, it is also one of the things that I know that I need to stand on. Your sacred contract can carry you through the dark times of your life. You are presented with seemingly arduous tasks, but also with the intuitive means to accomplish them. And like the great spiritual masters, at times you may question the divine's motives or feel that you cannot do what is expected of you. That is when you should recall how the spiritual masters struggled with their contracts and have faith that you already possess the intuition and inner skills you need to fulfill your own contract. What I love about this book is that Caroline Myss has taken the life of, I believe, four who she considers to be spiritual masters. Um, Jesus being one. I believe Moses may be another. I'm trying to get to that part where she breaks it on down. Abraham, forgive me. Abraham, Jesus, Muhammad, and I want to say there's one more. But she often calls on historical spiritual masters. Yes. She talks about Adam, Noah. She talks about several individuals who have been called to do particular things, but also struggled at some point. Even Jesus Christ struggled at some point. What? You want me to do what? Me? A lowly carpenter? Me? You want me to do what? But even in the struggle, there was the faith that we all possess the intuition and inner skills needed to fulfill that contract. Although events often seem to occur haphazardly, your contract unfolds gradually, each aspect arriving as you are ready for it, giving you many opportunities to respond to the challenges it presents. I'm on my 40th life, it feels like. I'm 53, but it feels like I've lived 40 lives already. And each one of those lives, I have been presented a different challenge. Each one of your lives within your sacred contract is going to present you with a particular challenge. We'll talk about those next week in barriers. However, the reason that thing is present is because you are prepared. You are ready. Your contract is written in such a way that says, all right, we are not going to present anything before the subject is ready and capable of handling it. And it may feel like you are in a blow up raft in the middle of a raging sea. But even in that blow up raft, there is enough faith, enough skill, and enough power to get you through that storm. I am telling you what I know. I am imparting my wisdom with the confidence that I'm sure that wherever you are in your life right now, it is exactly where you need to be in order to fulfill your contract. However, you have to acknowledge the terms and conditions. You have to know your why. You have to allow yourself the opportunity to see how everything that you've gone through in your life is connected to your purpose, to the plan, to the vision. And then once you start to unfold and unpeel and get to the bottom of it, get to the root of it, you'll start to see why things are the way they are and how you already have everything you need. I hope that it is resonating. I hope that you are writing. One of the things that I needed to do yesterday as I'm committing to working this weekend. And oh, by the way, let me just mention, if anyone wants to have a further discussion, I have some time on my calendar. In the description of this video, it's only going to be, well, I don't want to say it's only going to be good today. I'm going to be opening up my calendar and putting time. I have some time this afternoon. I'll have some time later in the week. I haven't modified the calendar to add the times later in the week, but for every video, there will be a link. And if you follow me on Instagram or if you follow me here in the link tree, there is a link to my calendar. Let's talk, because perhaps talking it out is also going to support you in getting to the place where you believe and you are trusting. And I don't know if any one of you remember, let me see if I can show where we're at. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So this was June. Where we're at right now is support, accountability, connection, and resources. The key word being action. We are taking action. So if we were doing SMART goals, if we were using that acronym, we're in the action part. We're kind of in the SMA part. The specific, we're going to put that to the wayside. The measurable, we're going to put that to the wayside. But action, absolutely. And so as part of that, keeping you accountable, supporting you, staying connected, I'm going to open up my calendar. The link to the calendar is in the description box of this video and also in my link tree. Book some time and we can talk about whatever is formulating in your mind at that point. But what I know is that the trust and the belief has to be present. Doesn't mean that fear is not part of the equation. Because like I said yesterday, like Friday night, I was like, you're going to work all this weekend. Saturday, I'm working. Boom. It was almost like I got slapped in the face with you can't do this. Coaching is not for you. You need to stop telling people you a coach. You need to hang it up and figure something else out, because you cannot do it. Literally was like in a message in my spirit. You can't do this. What you are about to do is so big, you can't do it. And yet and still, here we are. And so when I was going through my spiritual life coaching journey, of course, journaling was a requirement. Journaling like I've never journaled before in my life. And one of the things that we had to do was a God journal. So this was my God journal. Everything in here was information that I wanted to share with God. Like if God and I were connected by this journal, what would I write? So this was my God journal. I also had, I got a lot of journals. I also had a money journal. I had a money journal. Um, and I recognized yesterday, I was looking for the God journal, and then I found the money journal, and I recognized, oh my gosh, I abruptly stopped writing in this journal. No wonder the money is looking the way it's looking. You just stopped. You stopped thinking about all of the lovely things, because money is energy, right? Finances connected to money, it's all energy. And it was so helpful to me to write about the energy that I was experiencing financially. Um, Now, if I were to have, and I have in the past had a financial coach, they probably would not necessarily look at the value of this, but for me, it had a lot of value. And so yesterday I wrote down some action steps. I wrote down 10 action steps. I've already completed 6 of them. It's what I needed to do when that little bit of doubt jumped up in my face and was like, stop playing around. Who do you think you are? I had to take out my God journal to remind myself of who I know I am. And then I also was able to find my financial money journal to remind myself of what we know how to do. And so hopefully through this journey, you are recognizing that there are particular tools and habits that you need to form for yourself to support you. Because when those things hit you, when those things flood through, that doubt, you're going to need something to sustain you. Because without it, you will feel like you're just bouncing all around. You just are very unclear. Ooh, I love this. My why is to know that I am more and supported by more than just ooh. I desire to invite others to explore that concept and enjoy the process. Laura, that is delicious. To know that you are more and supported by more than just your let me tell you how beautiful that is. Thank you for sharing that. And I second that everyone else, Laura is inviting you to explore that concept, that you are more and you are supported by more than just you. And again, this is what I needed to remind myself with my God journal. I'm like, girl, you are connected in ways that you often forget, that you don't always consciously acknowledge. And I recognize, the last couple of weeks I've been trying to tell myself that I'm not supported or that I'm not receiving something or I'm not getting something. And let me tell you how that is a big old lie from the bald headed devil, because I am surrounded by so many loving and giving individuals that when I receive things, and I'm not just talking about tangible gifts, when I receive compliments, they always come when I need them. When I'm having those moments of nobody loves me, or I feel alone, or you all in this by yourself. When I start to tell myself those kind of things, like a flood, support comes in so many different ways. And I would also invite us to expand our expectation of how it's supposed to come. We might be so focused on it only coming in one particular way, not paying attention to all of the ways that it's happening. Like you might be so focused on, I really need money, and not recognizing that more valuable things are being presented to you that are so much more than just money, which is energy. Money is energy. And so I am grateful as I, commit to the work, the work, the work, the work. Things are presented in ways that I didn't expect them. And I'm always like, oh my goodness, you were thinking of me? So you sent me some good wishes. And I also acknowledge those things that I may not ever tangibly see. I know people are praying for me and I acknowledge it. I can feel it. I don't need to know who it is. I don't need to know when it's happening. I trust that it's happening. Trust that it's happening for you. And I would love to have, discussions. And there is something coming on the horizon. Um, there's something coming on the horizon that is going to do exactly what I wrote in my goal on expanding my work. I'm so excited by it that I'm actually afraid of it. And I'm not afraid to confess that. I am afraid of how big this is, but I'm also excited. And I tell people all the time, fear and excitement are really the same thing. It's all how you express it. So the fear that I'm experiencing, I know is a level of excitement of, oh my gosh, considering that I'm still also healing the relationship that I just mentioned, my coaching relationship. I'm still healing that. That was a painful interaction. Saying goodbye to that person and then also having to protect myself from that interaction, and then also telling myself I don't want to coach anymore because I don't want to replicate that experience. And so I am more mindful now of what my motivation is. And it's not just numbers and money. Because if it were, I'd be out here coaching everybody. And everybody's not coachable. Everybody doesn't really want coaching. Sometimes people believe that they want coaching, but what they really want is something different. Or what might be necessary is therapy. I'm not a therapist. Coaching and therapy are very different. You can have both. You can have a coach and a therapist, but your therapist should not be your coach, and your coach should not be your therapist. Those are two completely different energies, two completely different approaches. And there are particular things that we experience in life that cannot be coached, that absolutely need therapeutic intervention. And so I'm also very clear with people that I enter into a contract, a coaching contract with. I am not a therapist. I am a coach. I'm a damn good coach. And I'm going to coach you, but you have to also be coachable. Yes, my dear. To grow a thriving location. Ooh, independent health coaching business. Why? To give back my experience and replicate the experience of being well to those who desire favorable health outcomes. Lord. Yeah. Ooh, she continues. Because I desire to stay well for many years to come. My mama, at 38, died of metabolic health complications. Experiencing health transformation is empowering. Yes, it is. I'm telling you. So that why? Because you had the experience of losing someone who is so connected to your life's journey because of something that, and forgive me if I'm incorrect in saying this, could have been managed. I also had parents who left this earth way too easily and way too early because of something that could have been managed by their diet and their lifestyle, and they were non-compliant and refused to do that. And that pisses me off. And should also be the motivation why I take better care of myself. She continues. It allows me to walk in and facilitate self advocacy because you recognize there are times when you second guess your own path. Listen to how Metabolic Maven is in here preaching to herself. You know it. You know it. You know it. And because you know that there are times when you second guess your own power, I guarantee you, the more you do this work, the more you will start to believe yourself the first time because you said what you said and you know who you are and you know what you meant the first time. And can you also see how the second guessing and the not advocating for yourself is also connected to those metabolic health complications? Because what I also know about my parents is they thought that the doctors had all the answers and it was their responsibility to make them feel better. They never took full authority over their own health care. They waited for the doctors to do, they wanted the doctors to do everything. Give me the pills that you say are going to make me feel better. Those pills were never designed to make you feel better or to change what we can change through diet, through exercise, through movement. Because I don't like the E word, y'all. Movement. Through diet and movement. But if you are not advocating for your own body, you cannot expect someone else to do it for you. They don't live in it. And they don't know what's connected to the reason why you might be overeating. I remember when one of my spiritual mamas, when I was telling her about, diabetes running rampant in my family and also having the experience of being a diabetic. And when she hit me with because you don't experience joy. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about my pancreas ain't doing what it's supposed to be doing. I'm like, no, my pancreas is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. She said, baby, it's not just your pancreas. Your body is holding the energy of what's been going on in your family for generations, not fully experiencing joy. So if you don't do something about that, Yolanda, this experience is going to continue to be replicated in your family. Now, I have to say that when I look at my children, my granddaughter don't have any problem experiencing joy. She is the happiest little thing until she's not. She is the happiest little nugget until she's not. And what concerns me is when she's not. That is concerning to me because I know what that is. I know what that is. So thank you. And I hope that you recognize that this is not just a one-off experience. Keep writing, keep asking why. And your aha moment may come to when you second guess your own power. Why do you do that? Where did that experience start? Where you start to second guess yourself? Could it be some of the things that I said earlier? Having the experience of being dismissed when you were younger, having the experience of other people not recognizing when you were in pain. So now you second guess yourself. Am I really in pain? If other people can't see that I'm in pain, then maybe I'm not in pain. Start to do work around that. This is not a one-off. This is just a starting point of keep asking yourself why. And if you get to the point where you can no longer answer the why, stay there. Don't throw the whole thing away because there are times when I'll say why and nothing comes. And I know that, maybe I need to walk away or step away from this exercise at this moment, or maybe it's starting to sound like the answers I think I'm supposed to give. This is you talking to you. If you don't know the why, someone else is not going to know it. Now, as a coach, I could facilitate that process for you. But this really is about you recognizing your why. Someone else cannot tell you that. You have to investigate that. Now is a good time for, but thank you so much for sharing, because I guarantee you what you just demonstrated, what you just shared is going to resonate with someone else in terms of I second guess myself. Whoo, because I'm right there with you, sis, in terms of the second guessing. Because I had experiences where I knew what it was and other people question it. So then I start to question myself. Well, maybe I don't know. Or looking at other people as authority when I haven't considered myself to be an authority. And that might be something that needs to be worked out in therapy. If you have an issue with authority figures, if you feel like you want to fight everybody that wants to try to tell you what to do, if you are unable to hear things as constructive criticism, everything is a judgment or a criticism, even when it's not. Like, I recognize there are times when people will say stuff and I'll be like, why? What's wrong? What you see? Am I not doing something? Like, nobody said that, girl. That's your mind. It's, when I am coaching with people and I'll ask a question and then they don't answer the question, it's like, I know that you heard the question, but you may not have been listening. And I do that. Giselle, who is often in this space, asked me a question and I didn't answer it. I went all the way around the block and never answered the question. I heard what she said, but my response was more about me defending myself, more about me trying to convince myself that this is what she needs to hear than the truth. So, and thank you for taking notes, because this is, you know, I love the SMART acronym, but as a spiritual life coach, we got to go deeper. We have to know the why. And I love that you say, I want a thriving, location independent health coaching business. So you already know franchise is not going to do it for you. It has to be thriving. It's not something you're trying to do on the weekends. Or maybe it is thriving on the weekends. That's more about the specifics of the thing. But we're not in that lane. We're in a whole different lane. You know what you know, but do you know the why? And where Laura says, knowing that she is supported by more than just herself. Let me tell you how, for those of us who are living our lives as independent contractors, meaning we participate in life, but it has to be on our terms, and we're doing so independently. And I am also still learning how to let other people take care of me, to care for me, take care of me, support me. I'm still learning how to do that. For those of us who say that we want to not just be in connection where we get to make all of the rules, but that we want to be in connection with other individuals to see what it's like to give and receive in a balanced way, it's work, particularly when you haven't been used to it. Particularly when you haven't been used to it. So we're going to meditate on who shall I become? Because what I also want us to walk away with this week is recognizing is that you might have the goal, you might have the vision, you might know I want a thriving location independent health coaching business. That starts now, not when the building, not when you've signed the lease or signed the deed to the building, not when the products are on the shelf, not when the cash register or the point of service mechanism, not when all of those things, not when the, keys are handed over. That's not when it starts. It starts right here, right now, in your mindset, in your soul set, in the choices that you make. So, tomorrow morning we're like, I'm going to stop and get me a cup of coffee from Starbucks, which I don't even know how much it costs right now. You're asking yourself, is this what a CEO of a thriving independent health business does? It might be. If you're choosing to, spend all your money at the casino on Saturday, you have to ask yourself, would I be doing this if I had a thriving location independent health coaching business? Maybe. That's who you are. Who that is who you are now. And so that's why we're going to meditate on who shall I become, because when you are investigating your why, and let's start to breathe. When you are unlearning things that may have kept you resistant, when you're doing all of that kind of work, you have to acknowledge that your why is living in your chest so that you lead with it, like people can see it, and that it's living in your mind so that you think in that way now, and that it's living in your body in such a way that every behavior and action is aligned with that vision now. And so, as we are breathing and coming into this moment where we are all that we know that we are becoming now, the intensity of it is increasing. The exact specifications are coming into shape, coming into form. But I am who I say I am now. And I recognize the terms and conditions of my soul's contract are worthy of reading, investigating, evaluating, processing. This is who I am. This is who I have always been meant to be. And this is what I'm choosing to align. This is who I am when I'm speaking, when I'm thinking, when I'm feeling, when I'm crying, when I'm laughing, when I'm experiencing joy. Who shall I become? Who shall I be? All of the characteristics that I believe exist in a living, breathing human form, as a coach, as a mother, as someone in relationships where the giving and the receiving, the reciprocity is balanced, as a wife, as a husband, as a sister, whatever I desire, I am living that now. I am wise, I am confident, I am accomplished, I'm successful, I am healthy, I am wise, I am self assured, and every choice is a reflection of my desire to have those experiences live within me at all times, not just when it's convenient, not just when I'm being paid, not just when other people feel comfortable, at all times. This is who I am. I am unfamiliar with being anything else. My soul pulled me here to be this very thing. And I'm trusting and believing that everything that I experience contributes to me becoming who I desire to be. This is not by accident. I'm not falling into this particular personality or experience. This is who I am. I am clear about that. My name may change, my weight may fluctuate, my height might even look different depending upon my posture, but who I am at the core of my being has always been present. When I was a child and I did not have the language to express or articulate who I am, it came up in the way that I played, the way that I interacted with others, but it was always there. As I matured into an adolescent, a young person, and started to recognize and realize the influence that the world may have on my power. And so I may have shrank, I may have run from it, I may have even tried to convince myself that that's not who I am, that's not me, I can't possibly be that. And perhaps that continued into my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and I'm still trying to recover the parts of myself that I may have forgotten. But I also recognize that I have the power to affirm, I have the power to unleash. I like that word. I have the power to express the true meanings of who I am, but I have to know it. I have to trust it. I have to believe in it. I have to live in that truth. And the more that I am living in that truth, the more that I am with every inhale and exhale, I am confident in who I am. The more it will be reflected in the choices that I make, the relationships that I engage in the things that I create. I don't have to walk around with a sign on my chest or consistently and constantly tell people, this is who I am, this is who I am. You will know it just by looking at me, that I am sure of myself. And if you have the pleasure of speaking with me, it will become solidified that I am sure of who I am and who I am becoming. I recognize that there are challenges that we are all going to experience. And your contract says that when these challenges arise, you will not be alone because the author of the contract put them in there. It's already known, already part of the deal. And know that you are not alone when those experiences start to come. Know that you have already been given what is necessary to meet the conditions of that particular challenge. I am so incredibly grateful that even though I may not know all of the terms and conditions of my own contract, I know that I got what I need. I know that everything happens in stages, and that as we are continuing to develop throughout those stages, we are gathering up all of this information. You don't go through what you go through because the universe ain't got nothing better to do on a Tuesday. It's to gather up the wisdom of that. Okay, this thing is going to live in me for the rest of my life. That trauma, that pain, that it's going to live within me. What did I learn from it? And how can I gather it up in such a way that it prepares me for the next stage and the next occurrence and the next life. Like I said, I believe I've already lived 40. I could be living 40 more before it's my time to transition. It may not make sense to you right now, but it's going to make a whole lot of sense when you start to uncover and get down to the root of your why. You be like, oh, that's why I had to meet that man. Ugh. That's why my mother and I had conflict in this particular area. Oh, that's why I lost what I lost. That's why I gained what I gained. That's why. So for the rest of this week, as you are writing in your journals and you're thinking about the things that you would like to experience, don't worry about if they're smart. Just focus on it doesn't matter what it looks like. What are the things that you would like to experience? And then ask yourself why. And continuously, and why do you want that? And why do you want that? And why is that important? And why does that exist? And where did that start? And maybe you will get to that, oh, now I see why it's so significant to me, because it's connected to some healing experience that I desire, but I may not have the language for or be consciously aware of. What needs to be healed within you is going to reveal itself, and let it be, because it wants healing, right? The natural state of all bodies is balance. So if something is out of balance, it's going to make itself known. It's going to say, whoa, excuse me, excuse me, as my daughter likes to say, is this mic on? Excuse me, are you not paying attention to this pain that keeps jumping up in your face and disguising itself as relationships, or disguising itself as a food issue, or disguising itself as overspending? Do you not see it? And sometimes we don't see it until it becomes such a huge problem. Then it feels like I can't deal with this because now it's so big. I don't know what to do. Even those challenges can be met. They absolutely can be met. Now, next week, we're going to talk about absolute barriers. Absolute barriers. Like, they're so big, they should have the word barrier right on them. It could be a relationship. It could be something that you got yourself in and now you don't know how to get out of. It could be a value system. It could be a core belief. You could have a core belief living in your body right now that prevents you from seeing things any other way than the way that you are seeing them. We will talk about those next week. And you might even uncover them as you continue to do the why exercise. That drilling down. What is the desire? What is the desire, and why do you want it? Why is that thing in your consciousness? And remember, as we started out, if it is connected to you proving something or offering something to someone else, if you think, okay, I'm going to lose all this weight, and then those heifers that were mean to me in high school are going to feel some kind of way, they don't care. They didn't care in high school, which is why they were mean, and they don't care now. And they might be right where you at, trying to lose weight to please other people. Or if I, do this thing, it's going to make sure that people love me more. They might love you even less. And what are you going to do? If you've gone through something and your motivating factor was someone else, I'm going to lose all this weight and then that man's going to come back. He could, and he might make your life a living hell. And now you skinny and still unsatisfied. Now you can't eat cake and you still unsatisfied. Whatever your motivation is, please attach it to something that is already living within you that desires to be healed, instead of something that it's like feeding the monster. The monster is the unhealed trauma. And if you keep feeding the monster with anything other than healing, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if the unhealed trauma is I was abandoned, I was neglected, own up to it and say, okay, I was abandoned and neglected. How do I pour into that in a way that heals it instead of continuously feeds it where I'm the victim and now I'm victimizing my own self? We will talk about that next week. If there are any questions, concerns, comments, anything, again, you can hop on my calendar or send me an email. I'm still going through emails. I'll be working it, listen, all the way inside, all the way inside. If you take it outside, then again, you will be led by whatever happens. Like I see people, and it's going to sound like a judgment or a criticism. It really isn't meant to be. But I am actually afraid when individuals live their life in such a way based upon the judgments and criticism of others. And we see that a lot in social media where I noticed this weekend, and I am talking about somebody in particular, but I'm not going to tell you who I'm talking about, but you might be able to figure it out. Where I see these public figures messing with their faces, right? It's like, that don't even look like so and so. What is going on? But when your life is attached to you looking a particular way and other people consistently commenting on the way that you look, then you might be motivated to alter yourself in a way so that you think that you are looking the way that you always have looked. Because, as we get older, stuff starts to sag, stuff just looks different. I was looking at myself yesterday. I'm like, is this the way I really look? Well, yeah, girl, because you're older. But what I do is not attached to me constantly being reminded about how I look. So I'm not as sensitive to it as someone who might be a public figure might be sensitive to it. It's like the minute you get a gray hair, somebody's going to comment, oh, you got a gray hair, or oh, your eyebrows don't look the way they looked yesterday. Like if that's what you do, then you might be motivated to alter your face to attempt to make it to look one way or another. I don't know. And if that's your motivation, that you're going to be messing with your face for a very long time. And we know of public figures who have. It's like, we know that you're 155 years old, but your face is looking very different. And so if you're motivating, if your why is motivated by external forces, then those external forces get to dictate how you are motivated and how you are inspired. And we see that a lot with people in the public eye when the public eye doesn't want to look at them anymore, and then they're doing stuff to remain in the public eye. It's like you're like I said earlier, when I was not focused on my why and it was about numbers and money, I started to make choices that were not aligned with who I know myself to be, and it wound up hurting me in ways that I'm still recovering from. And so we see that with public figures, when no one is no longer looking at them, they're more likely to do particular things so that the people are looking at them because that's the motivation. Like Sis said, it's an inside job. And you have to know what your why is. So much so that if other people criticize it and judge it, you're like, I'm not doing this for you anyway. This is a me thing. This is fulfilling to me. So what? I'm rolling around in the dirt at my big age. It's what I love to do. Other people may not understand it. It's not for them. Yes, my love. The judgment from others, particularly those that love us. Yes, their commentary means a lot. Like if my children, and they have sometimes, my children say things to me Because sometimes I do things and they're like, "That's so weird. Why are you're a hippie? That's so weird." But I know why I'm doing it, and the motivation behind it is doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but I know my motivation is not to please them. And in the long run, it's to heal all of us so that they won't have to replicate some of the things that I've gone through. I am so grateful that we have started this conversation. If you want to continue it, please go ahead and click on the link in the description to get on the calendar for today. Sometime today, I'll put up the of my availability for the rest of this week. Let's go through this week with the lens of why. Why am I doing this? What's the motivation behind this? And is it connected to the vision that I have for myself? Because if not, then why am I doing it? Because we may discover that one of the biggest barriers that we face in our vision and our goals is right up here. Sometimes it's outside, but most of the time it's right up here. I love y'all. Thank you so much for opening up your heart and sharing it with others. Thank you so much for opening up your heart and sharing it with me. And I am grateful that you allow me to open up my heart and share it with you. Next week, we'll talk about barriers. You may have seen that July 21st, did I say firsts? 21st, there's a challenge. I don't like challenges. I don't like 21-day challenges, 30-day challenges. Well, guess who's doing a challenge? We are. We are. We are. We are. July 21st. We're going to put our big girl panties on, or big boy, because I don't want to just think that it's just women. We're going to put on the big draws. How about that? We're going to put on our big draws and really step into what the ask is. You might have more than one. We need to talk about the barriers first, because there's nothing worse with, like I experienced yesterday, saying you want to do something and then boom, everything that tells you can't do it comes along. So let's talk about the barriers next week, and then after, our action will be, and my hand is itching as I say it. That's a good thing for me. Um, the big ask. I ordered my t-shirt. I can't wait till it gets here. Hopefully it'll be here before the 21st so I can wear it as we're talking about this challenge. Um, and hopefully by the 21st, the big request that I have made to the universe will have given birth, and I can share that with y'all as well. I love you. Hearts to you. Hearts to any one of us who is doing this work. Please applaud yourself, support yourself, give yourself a treat, because if you are doing this work, particularly when you feel stuck, it's one thing to be stuck and to stay stuck. It's another thing to feel stuck and say, I'm going to undo myself from this experience. I'm going to take off or untie whatever has me feeling resistant. I applaud you. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As I said, I'm still answering emails. I'm still reaching out to individuals today. I'll be working until I'm stopping at 6 o'clock today. And then I'll have some more time through the week. I love y'all. Hope to connect with you soon. I love you. I love me. I love us. And thank you for everything you do to support me in this space. Love y'all. Bye.